All right, we're recording. Okay, so second part, 6 more exam questions, 6 groups, another 67 questions we're going to go over here real quick. Shared frequency bands. Just because this chart says that you can work on there doesn't necessarily mean that you're the only one working on there. And in some cases, we are secondary. So you have to defer to others. And sometimes this can depend on your area too. We don't have anything to worry about as far as the areas go here, I don't believe. Amateurs are primary users on some bands, but secondary on others. And you must always defer to primary users if you're on a band where you're a secondary. Amateurs may not cause interference with primary users ever, because some of those are their communications are, have a purpose. They're more important than our hobby, apparently. I tend to disagree with that, but anyway, how are U.S. amateurs restricted in segments of bands where the amateur radio service is secondary? Alpha. U.S. amateurs may find non-amateur stations in those segments and must avoid interfering with them. Frequency allocations, let's see, technician power output limits. Okay, we already talked a little bit about this, but in HF bands, which is 3 to 30, you're limited to 200 watts. That's voice on 28.3 and 28.5, and then you've got a few places where you can do the CW. And then on VHF, UHF, you've got the full 1,500 watts at your disposal if your wallet is big enough to handle 1,500 watts. Except for some specific restrictions. Oh, and let's go back to that 1 minute. Which band did I say was limited to 50 watts? The 220 band or the 1.25 meter band. Thank you. Except for some specific restrictions, what is the maximum peak envelope power output for technician class operators using frequencies above 30 megahertz? Delta, 1,500 watts. Very good. What is the maximum peak envelope power output for technician class operators in their HF band segment, so in high frequency? Anybody? Alpha, 200 watts. License class determines where you can operate and what modes and what power. So new licenses. I'm one of those people that when I talk to somebody, I'm busy typing away on my computer trying to find out their license information, where they're from, okay? DX has kind of become my preferred activity. But anyway, sometimes you talk to folks on there that you might notice when you call up their license that it's a novice license or an advanced license or technician plus. None of those 3 licenses are issued anymore. The only licenses issued are technician, general, and amateur extra. Now, those that hold those licenses that are no longer issued, as long as they keep them active, they get to keep that license as long as they don't let it expire. In fact, we have one person in our class with us who is a novice operator. So, term, okay, all the license classes have a 10-year term, and it is effective as soon as it appears in the FCC database. Now, if you go looking on the ARRL website or any other website for your license, there may be a couple of days delay before it updates on everybody else's information, everybody else's data. But on the FCC, it's as soon as the FCC gets it and puts it in, then you can find it on there, even though it may not appear on QRZ just yet. Your license grants only 1 station operator license per person. So you're only going to have 1 license for amateur radio, and it will cover everything that you do. Or everything that you're allowed to do. For which license classes are, let me go back to this a minute. Remember, new license classes, the only things that are still issued are technician, general, and amateur extra. So you guys will be taking the test next week for the technician class. And those who have not gotten their FRN yet, I need to get those as soon as I can, okay? License, let's see, 10 years. As soon as it shows up in the database, it's real important to make sure your email address is correct, because your notification from the FCC will be to your email. They don't mail out licenses anymore. Everything's virtual. You'll get a link in your email. You click on it, it'll go to your license, and then you can print off a copy for your. It's two, actually. It's got a frameable one that can be framed and hung up in your ham shack, and then it's got one that can fold in half and put in your wallet to get wore out in a couple of weeks. For which license classes are new licenses currently available? Delta, Technician, General, and Amateur Extra. Very good. What is the normal term for an FCC-issued amateur radio license? How long is it good for? Charlie, 10 years, which is easy to forget, so keep an eye on it. You know, you'll find yourself expired and transmitting if you don't. How soon after passing the examination for your first amateur radio license, such as your technician, how soon after that may you transmit on the amateur radio bands? Charlie, as soon as your station operator license grant appears in the FCC's database. How many operator station license grants may be held by any one person? Alpha, 1. Official licenses are issued electronically. That's why you have to make sure that your email address is current and that you monitor it. Electronic record is in the FCC ULS database. Paper licenses are no longer mailed. They don't use snail mail anymore. The paper copy can be printed from the FCC ULS database. There might be a requirement to be logged in to be able to print the one that says official copy, which is the one you want. I can't remember. What provides that the FCC has issued, what proves that the FCC has issued an operator or primary license grant? Charlie, the license appears in the ULS FCC database. That is correct. Call signs. So you're going to get, after you pass your test, the test team will give you a copy of your certificate of successful completion of exam. They'll give it to you, a copy of it, and then the rest of it they put in a paperwork packet and mail in. Most of them also transmit it digitally, but they still have to mail in the paper packet. Then they'll say, as soon as the FCC gets it and reviews it, they'll assign you a call sign from a list that is sequential. So whatever call sign is up next in the queue when they grab your record is the one you're going to get. Now later you can request a vanity call sign. Must be in the proper format, and in at least 2 cases here, they're restricted to extras only. So the 1x2 and the 2x1 are extras only. So, all right. So what do they mean by 1x2, 1x3, 2x1? Okay. Your license will have, your initial license is going to be a 2x3. So it'll have 2 letters before the number. The number is going to be 4, which is, well, actually, take that back. The number is going to be whatever the home of record is on your FCC file, okay? So if you're here, if you're a student and you're here temporarily and your home of record is actually in Minnesota, then it's going to be the Minnesota license. Whatever is in that record with the FCC. So you're going to have 2 letters, like mine was Kilo Quebec 4 Echo Yankee Bravo, and I didn't like saying that. That was too much. So, but KQ4 And 4 is the southeast. And then you'll have 3 letters after that. Echo Yankee Bravo for mine, for my initial license. We have in here, see, Bob has also got a 1x3, and then Greg uses one of the ones that's reserved for amateur extras only. So you see there it says format 1x2, 1x3, 2x1, 2x2, and 2x3, but only extras can have the 1x2 or the 2x1. So you get either one of those, you've got a 4-character call sign. What I will do is recommend that if you start looking for a vanity call sign and you do intend to do CW, there's CW weight calculators online that you can look at, and you can type in your call sign and it rates that call sign. So if you want, say like for me, I wanted S4NTA, but they wouldn't let me have it. But I could type S4NTA into that and it could tell me the weight of that call sign based on the number of dits and das in that call sign. So if you plan on doing CW, try to look for one of those calculators, because what you don't want to do is pick a bunch of long letters that have lots of dits and das in them. If you're going to be doing a lot of CW. US prefixes, so the first letter, and this is why they wouldn't give me S4NTA, US prefixes begin with A, K, N, or W. It's assigned by the ITU, International Telecommunications Union. They assign those, and I would have to move to some third world country to get S. It's not that important, especially since I don't have a real sleigh with reindeer. So anyway, you see a few examples down there. Alpha, Foxtrot, 4 Zulu, W3RDL, N1KSC, KX4ABC. So you see a few examples there. Who may select a desired call sign under the vanity call sign rules? Any licensed amateur, that is correct. For some reason or another, when I got my technician license, I thought that you had to stick with the 2x3 if you requested a vanity, but you don't. You can go with a 1x3 or a 2x2. Any licensed amateur. Which of the following is a valid technician class call sign format? Okay, remember 1x2s and 2x1s are not allowed for technicians. So the answer is Alpha. That is correct. Kilo Alpha 1X and Whiskey 1 X-ray are 1x2 and 2x1. So those are extras only. So Kilo Fox 1 X-ray. Licenses renewal. Okay, so what happens is, here's another little story. I had considered getting Kilo 4 DHB, Kilo 4 Delta Hotel Bravo, because Delta Hotel Bravo is my initials. So when I looked it up, I find out that it was held once before by a guy named Dean Bird. And the most recent record I could find for Mr. Bird was that his license expired in like 2016. So it was available for me to use. I had looked at his QRZ profile, and on the profile he had pictures of him and his son at his son's wedding. When I dug a little deeper on the internet, I found out that Mr. Bird passed away, and actually his license expired 2018. He passed away 2016. So, and I said, okay, so I can go ahead and get that one. And my wife said, no, you can't. I said, why is that? And she said, well, his son is an operator. It's likely that he has a grandson by now. And if the grandson wants to take his father's call sign later down the line, and you already have it, you'll have to change your call sign. She knew that I would. She knew that I'd give up my call sign for that reason, because I'm very family oriented. So, yeah, so I decided not to get it, just leave it alone. If his grandson wants it, it'll be available for him without having to go to a lot of work to get it. Bottom line is here, renewal before 10 years. And do you remember how far ahead they can renew? I meant to look that. Okay. So you can, yeah. So a month or two ahead, you should be able to start looking into renewing. Once you enter the grace period, you can't transmit anymore. So the day that it expires, you can no longer transmit. But you're not going to lose your call sign right away because you've got two years to renew it after that. That's the grace period. After the grace period, it's up for grabs by anybody who asks for it. So, renew your license before it expires so you don't have to stop transmitting. There's a retest option for those who let the grace period expire. You can retake the technician exam only and then get restored back to your original license level. But there's some other things about that that I didn't know until I did the volunteer examiner test that may not be as cut and dry as it sounds right here. But for the purposes of this test, you can take, after the 2-year grace period, you can't transmit, but you can retake the technician exam and get restored to whatever your highest level was. What is the grace period for renewal if an amateur license expires? Bravo, 2 years. Very good. If your license has expired and is still within what you need, Ben? Oh. That's all right. He was like this and his face was turning red. I didn't know if he was in trouble or... Oh, today's his birthday? Oh, well, happy birthday, Ben. You said 14? Oh, how about that? I remember 14, barely. If your license has expired and is still within the 2-year grace period, may you continue to transmit on the amateur bands? Delta, no, you must wait until the license has been renewed. Very good. Club licenses, every club, every repeater has a license, okay? So our club, Indian River Amateur Radio Club, has its license, and each repeater has its own license. Clubs can apply for a station license. You've got N1KSC is the Kennedy Space Center, W4MLB is PCARS in Melbourne, and W2SDB is the license here for Indian River. The requirement is that you must have at least 4 members. So 3 good buddies and you can apply for a license, for a club license. Vanity call sign, you can get them for your club if it's available. So W4MLB is obviously a vanity license because MLB for Melbourne. KSC for Kennedy Space Center. I'm not sure what SDB is. I don't think that's a vanity sign. That must have been an assigned one. I'll have to ask. That'll be a good trivia thing for Steve. W2SDB, is it a vanity sign or was that the assigned?
SDB was one of our members.
Oh, okay.
He used to, at a club meeting, start up with playing a song on his harmonica.
Okay.
He was really a neat old gent. So as he passed away, his family allowed us to apply for his call.
How about that? That is really cool. I like learning the history. All right. So thank you, Greg. So vanity call sign. All right. So that was his, and that was probably was his vanity call. So which of the following is a requirement for the issuance of a club station license grant? Bravo. The club must have at least 4 members. Email. Remember what I said about your email. Valid email has been required since December of 2020. All amateur radio license applicants have to have a valid email address. That's why when you go in there and you set up your Coors account, they make you verify your email address because they send a link to you. You have to go in there and click that link before you can progress any further. What? Okay, it provides and maintains a valid, you have to provide and maintain a valid email address effective after December of 2020. FCC can revoke your license if it's not maintained. Now, how they would find out would be if they sent something critical that required a response from you to that email address. Otherwise, I don't think they would find out. Which of the following can result in revocation of the station license or suspension of the operator license? Bravo, failure to provide and maintain a correct email address with the FCC. Okay, I didn't go too far. No, okay. International waters operation. Who can tell me what international waters is? Yeah, I can't. Okay. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember what the distance is, but you've got territorial waters and international waters. And I cannot remember what the distance is. But in international waters, in territorial waters, the regular rules apply. In international waters, any licensed amateur station can operate aboard a ship or vessel in international waters. Now, the ship or vessel has to be either documented or registered in the U.S. I kept thinking 12, but I wasn't 100% certain. I know there's places where that 12 miles closes in, yeah, between two areas. All right, so anyway, so you can operate on board. Now, there is one requirement is that ships won't usually let you bring your equipment on there, but some ships have equipment already, and with the permission of the captain, you can go use it. From which of the following locations may an FCC licensed amateur station operate? From any vessel or craft located in international waters and documented or registered in the United States. And to keep the documented or registered in the U.S., remember that. Okay, amateur radio secondary bands, you have to interfere. Yes, Michelle. Yep. I don't know how many of them have stations on board that you could use, but I've talked to some people that have used them. And on the Navy ships, when I was in the Navy, there was always a station on board, a Mars station. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, frequency allocations and power output limits. Amateur radio secondary bands, remember that you can't interfere if you're secondary. And remember earlier we talked about, like last week or something, we talked about, if you have to talk it out between you and decide who's going to stay and who's going to leave, continued use of the frequency. That doesn't apply when you're secondary. When you're secondary, you're bound to change frequencies or bands. Maximum power output for technicians above 30 megahertz is 1500 watts PEP. Maximum power output for technicians in their HF band segments is 200 watts PEP. License classes, License currently being issued are Technician General and Amateur Extra. The term is 10 years with a 2-year non-operating grace period. Effective as soon as it appears in the FCC ULS database. Vanity call sign can be requested by any licensed amateur. Technician call signs, technician call signs 1x3, 2x2, or 2x3. Renewal, if expired, you must take the technician license exam again, and they'll restore you to the highest level that you were. Okay. You just, you pay the extortion fee. I mean, the $35, and for another thing. No additional testing, and also just to let you know, since I called it an extortion fee, I'm sure. But something that I didn't know when I upgraded to extra was that you don't have to pay to upgrade your license. You pay to get a vanity license. Okay, so when you request a vanity license, if they approve it, it costs you $35. But when you upgrade from technician to general, that's free. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not yet. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Actually, what he said, you're getting a new grant when you change your call sign for a vanity call sign. They give you a new grant. That's why they charge you again, because your 10 years starts all over again when you do that. So you sacrifice. So like when I got my vanity call sign, I sacrificed 9 years of that was still on that license before I moved up. Okay. Yeah. 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 And yeah. Yeah. So on your application, what he's saying is on your application, there's either 20 or 25 spots and you can fill in, but they're going to take the one closest to the top. So they're going to start at the top of the list and start working their way down. And when they find one that's available, they're going to go ahead and give it to you. They demand an 18-day wait period on that. Why? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that when they imposed the 18-day wait, it was because, you got operator one, it submits online and they've got it immediately. And operator two submits by snail mail and they go by the postmark. So if somebody gets it postmarked and somebody mailed it in a week ago and you requested it today and you just happen to have the same call sign preference, the one with the week earlier postmark gets it. So they still have the 18-day wait period, even though if you dig on the website, they say they don't accept them by mail anymore. But the 18-day wait is still on there. And it was 18 days, almost to the minute, that mine went in. So anyway, club license, minimum of 4 members for a club license, revocation or suspension if you fail to provide and maintain a correct email address, and international waters operations from any vessel or craft located in international waters as long as it's documented or registered in the U.S. All right, any questions?